Hello, my name is Max Bales, and I have done my presentation on the biologist Thomas Hunt Morgan. First, I will tell you about where and when he was born. He was born on September the 25th, 1866, in Lexington, Kentucky. I found it very interesting when looking at his birthplace that it was a very big city when it comes to the Civil War, because 1866 it was all about the Civil War back then, and it was a big deal because of there was Confederate and Union in the city, so it was a bit confusing, I guess. And as most middle class and wealthy families back in the day, in the 1800s, they had a slave plantation, and you know they lived on the plantation. But they did lose some of their property rights when the war ended because of their contribution to the Confederate. And talking about what Thomas or Morgan liked when he was a kid, I believe I read when he was 10 years old, he liked to look for fossils and bird eggs, among other things. So you could already tell he had a knack for nature and all that, because I I sure didn't do stuff like that when I was a kid. And after graduating from school, I'll get to his school in a second. He went straight to a seashore laboratory to work upon his old things of looking at fossils and stuff like that. Talking about education, he first went to the State College of Kentucky, which is now named the University of Kentucky, at only age 16. So you could tell he's pretty smart. And his parent, when he graduated as the valedictorian of his class in 1886 with a bachelor's degree in science. So, and then he went on to go to Johns Hopkins University, which he experimented with a person named William Brooks. He needed to do that so he could get his Master of Science from the State College of Kentucky, because that was a requirement to go to a different college for 2 years to study something, then go back. That's what I read. But he chose to stay at Johns Hopkins University after he got the Master of Science, because he liked it better there, I suppose. His family is, well, his mother was Ellen Key Howard Morgan, and his father was Cheriton Hunt Morgan. They were forced slave owners, but when looking at his not immediate family, like looking at his uncle, who was John Hunt Morgan, which who was a Confederate general in the Civil War, and his great grandfather, this really interests me, was Key. Oh, Francis Scott Key, who was the author of the Star Spangled Banner. I found that very intriguing when looking through his family. Um, his first career, his first job, would be in 1891 when he was appointed as an associate professor at Bryn Mawr College, which was a sister college of Johns Hopkins University. And he was also the head of the biology department. He worked with, he did the, I believe it was morphology, and another person did physiology in the department. He was there for 3 years at Bryn Mawr College, and then he was allowed to leave for a year to go to, I believe it's Naples, Italy, and a how should I say, a group of laboratories he went to go to study. It's Stazone Zoo. I can't say it, zoologio. And when he came back to Bryn Mawr College, he was a full professor. And then in 1904, he left and went to um, Columbia University in New York. He became a professor of experimental zoology, and he stayed there for 24 years. In 1928, he left and went to the California Institute of Technology and was appointed the professor of biology and the director. He stayed there until he eventually retired. His major contribution was his research and experiments on Drosophila, or the fruit fly. He we've looked at this at class with Gregor Mendel and the peas, and then Thomas Hunt Morgan with the fruit flies, because those two things are really good for, you know, testing and experimenting on. He, with his research and experimenting, he ended up establishing the chromosome theory of hereditary, and that basically means he showed that genes and chromosomes were responsible for different traits. And I have a picture here pulled up for different wings on the fruit fly and how they look different. And some can have white eyes, some can have red eyes, and those genes and chromosomes end up being responsible for that. His awards, he's a very, very successful man. For his role in discovering key things about hereditary and the role of chromosomes, he accepted he accepted the Nobel Prize in 1933. It was the Nobel Prize of Physiology or Medicine. In addition, he was also awarded the Copley Medal in 1939 for his establishment of modern genetics and the nature of evolution. And the thing about medals like that, I'll get onto the other medal he earned, is only one person gets it per year, and it's for a certain thing. Like, okay, looking at the next medal, but first he was elected as a foreign member of the Royal Society in 1919, and they awarded him the Darwin Medal in 1924. And everyone's basically heard of Charles Darwin, because he's, I'd say, pretty darn important when looking at what Thomas Hunt Morgan does, genetics. And it's the Darwin Medal is awarded for someone who, in that year, does something to, how do I word it? Does something substantial when it comes to moving forward in genetics. And he has the honor of having his own medal, the Thomas Hunt Morgan Medal. And a school, Thomas Hunt Morgan School of Biological Sciences, is also part of the Kentucky University now. So, yeah. And when looking at his later life, even after retiring, Thomas Hunt Morgan still worked in a laboratory. He was a very working hard man. Unfortunately, he did pass away in December 4th of 1945 of a heart attack because of a ruptured artery. But throughout his life, he had suffered from a chronic duodenal ulcer, which is an ulcer in the first part of your intestine. That is it. Thank you for your time.